The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
There goes that man's jock strap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports.
There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
The In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you exclusively by YouTube. By Golf Kicks, Screw Your Shoes. By Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. By Canadips, a CBD pouch crafted and manufactured in Humboldt, California. And by Streamer Loot. Check out the In a League of Their Own merch line today. Welcome to the show. Here are your hosts, Austin and Collin.
Hey man, another Monday, another show. How's it going today?
Going pretty good. How about yourself?
Just dandy. A lot to go over today. Looking forward to it. But as always, got to give a shout out to the socials. Make sure you guys check those out down in the description link below. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff. Any breaking sports news outside of our 3 episodes a week. Usually we're posting up there, as well as some scores of our favorite teams. For our audio episodes, check out Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere associated with Anchor. Really anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, you can find us. Feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there, as well, as it helps us move up the charts. And lastly, our merch, streamerloot.co, also in the link below. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, all that good stuff. You can find that there and rep one of the best up-and-coming sports podcasts out there. So we will dive into it for the day then with our NFL talk. I guess going forward, we're usually on Mondays, we kind of go over our breaking down every game that happened, some stats, some scores, who played well, who didn't, things like that. Going forward, we're going to kind of switch things up, give you guys a more personalized show, more takes, stuff like that, kind of more opinionated. You guys can go look up all the stats and scores till you turn blue in the face on every other ESPN, Sports Center, all that good stuff. You can find that there. So we are going to be, I guess, more genuine and authentic with you guys here going forward. So we're going to be kind of bringing up headlines, questions, takes, stuff like that about each sport. So that's kind of how we're going to break down things today. So in the NFL, what's your question or headline to start with?
After a 5-touchdown performance and now leading the NFL in rushing yards with 1,122, does Jonathan Taylor solidify himself to be in the MVP conversation?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quarterback. Everybody's got a hard on for quarterbacks being the MVP every year. It's just how it's always been. There's only been a handful of times in league history, I think, a receiver or running back has ever won it. And honestly, I can't even tell you who it was. I just know it's only happened a few times. But I mean, alongside Jonathan Taylor, I mean, obviously giving a shout out to Derrick Henry, where he would have been like, today we're like this question specifically about Jonathan Taylor, but Derrick Henry would also be in that conversation, if not a notch above Jonathan Taylor, if he was still playing and healthy, because after being out 2 weeks, Jonathan Taylor just finally passed him in rush yards this week, which is just unbelievable that it took him that long to pass. But nonetheless, Jonathan Taylor, amazing running back, obviously out of Wisconsin, shout out Badgers, being kind of a running back slash lineman factory university. But yeah, I mean, after his 5-touchdown performance against a supposedly good Bills team, it's hard not to put him in the conversation. And I feel like people like that dark horse like MVP in the conversation, whether it's a less popular guy, whether it's a quarterback, or in this case, a different position. So, I mean, if he continues to do what he does, builds off of it. Again, he's in the AFC South, which doesn't help him a whole lot as far as playing tough teams, tough defenses. But I mean, come playoff time, if he's able to keep building off what he's doing, I mean, I don't know how you can't put him in that conversation.
Yeah, I fully agree. And especially when you talk about MVP, that's the most valuable player to a team. each one of the games that he's not gotten at least 16 rushing attempts, that teams lost. Anytime that they've fed him more than that, he's gotten over 100 yards on the ground. Besides the first opening night against the Seahawks, he's been over 100 yards, multiple touchdown games every single. It seems this team goes as Jonathan Taylor carries them. And as far as MVP, that's what MVP means to me. And he definitely seems like he's the most valuable player. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers I'd put him in that equal category. Same with like a Patrick Mahomes as well. But as far as the stats and the numbers that he's putting up this season, I'd say Jonathan Taylor, and as well, I'd have to throw Kirk Cousins in that conversation, joined in as well after his amazing performance this weekend. Yeah, that's my first real take for you. Here comes my second one. At this point in the season, who's your Super Bowl favorite?
Gosh, I mean, obviously as a Packers fan, it sucks they took the L yesterday. They're still 8-3, still in control of the NFC North. It's been frustrating to where the defense has played super well, and then the weeks that they play super well, the offense doesn't. This week, offense puts up 31 points. Second half was just back and forth down the field. It was a really fun game to watch if you're a fan of football and if in any facet. But the defense gave up 34 points, which is the most since week 1 against the Saints. And they've just blown coverages. I guess hats off to them for, I don't know what Dalvin Cook finished with, but I know third quarter he was at like 12 rushing attempts for like 26 yards. So at least for 3 quarters, I remember they had him under wraps. And I think he had 1 touchdown on the goal line all day too. So, I mean, I guess as a Packers fan, they're still kind of my favorite to go the distance. And then on the AFC side, I mean, it's been a revolving door of who's on the top of that conference right now. But I mean, there hasn't been a team that has come out of the AFC side. There's some teams trending up, but none that have been consistent enough to say if the Packers defense that showed up Sunday and the Packers or the offense that showed up Sunday and the Packers defense that showed up for the past 3 weeks before this week show up in a playoff game or the Super Bowl, it's hard not to pick the Packers. So as of right now, the Packers are still my favorite to go the distance.
Sounds good. I agree with that take as well. Special teams, they got to clean that up. But the one thing that we do have to wonder, being Packers fans, did our defense get exposed against the Minnesota Vikings? That's now the second week in a row that the Vikings have led with the air attack instead of on the ground, saying we're going for it. And Kirk Cousins has made all the throws he's needed to make, got the drops. He's got, the 2 picks that we should have had, both that were dropped. Those are huge plays in the game. And I don't know. I just hope that we didn't get exposed. Granted, we still have our 2 best players, Zadarius Smith and Alexander, still yet to come back from being injured. So hopefully they can fill that void. But the one team that I think is going to win the Super Bowl, and my Super Bowl favorite right now, is the New England Patriots. This team, I've watched every one of their games. They've been trending upward tremendously. Mac Jones has found what he needs to do to get it done. The team wins by committee. That defense has finally stepped up, and we're getting to the point where Bill Belichick and that defense plays the most important games, and that's when it gets cold outside right around November. So they have 2 huge games coming up against the Bills. I've called this earlier the last couple of weeks. I think this Patriots team ends up winning this division, and I could see them going the distance.
If they do go, and I've seen this a couple times where people are like, "Oh, this would be so cool to see Belichick Brady Super Bowl, a rematch of what happened." I think it was week 4. Obviously, the Bucks have some things to sort out. But yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, the
defense isn't the same as last year's.
Yeah. And even Tom, as we like chat during games, it's like he doesn't have that look in his eye when he's down like he used to where it's kind of.
Well, he's out AB and Gronk right now. His 2 guys that he does go to in those moments. He does get Gronk back tonight, but I don't know. seems like a lack of it's almost like a lack of urgency because it's Tom. He knows. But this year, I don't know. I feel like some of his decisions have been late. Like he's been late on, and maybe that's just time getting to him. But yeah, I just don't see that Bucks team making it.
Yeah.
But you can't count them out because Tom.
No. Yeah, exactly.
That's the one thing, you can never count them out.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And then my last question: who's the hottest team in the NFC now that the Packers and the Rams and Houston, or excuse me, Arizona have all been kind of going through a little skid?
I don't know. I mean, if the Panthers took it to the Cardinals again, they had some injuries 2 weeks ago. Had the Panthers took care of business against the Washington football team and Cam Newton's return to Carolina this past week, I might lean towards the Panthers, but they come up short. So it's kind of tough to lean that way. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say one team's above the rest right now.
Well,
because
I'm just gonna Washington football team is the hottest team in the NFC.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Their record's not, obviously they're not number one, but they're the hottest team right now, beating the Bucks and beating a very good Panthers team back-to-back weeks. They seem like they could be rolling, and especially minus their top two defensive linemen. Like, they're here to play, and Dallas just got lumped yesterday by KC, so that division is wide open.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess I have to pick a team again, being biased to the Packers. They seem like the most consistent team across the board. The Cardinals, yes, they've had injuries, but also the Packers exposed them on Thursday night a couple weeks ago to where even completely healthy against the Packers team that's missing a ton of players, they couldn't get it done. To where if the Cardinals were still doing what they should be doing, I don't know. I mean, again, there's really 5 or 6 teams that are all within a game of each other at the top of the NFC. So it's hard to say because they all have won really good games, and the games that they've lost have all been really close to other good teams. Where in the AFC, it's kind of again that revolving door of boom, this team jumps to the top. Who's going to knock them down? I don't know. I guess I'd say the Cardinals and the Packers are still the 2 teams to beat in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm going to throw the Vikings into that conversation as well. I think they're one of the trending up teams as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they can get the Vikings are the Chargers last year. The Chargers were what, 2-7 in 1-score games last year, whatever it was.
And the Vikings have had every single week basically one
come
score
down
game.
to their last. I think this week was their 3rd or 4th week that came down to the last play at the side of the game. So and the Vikings should have beat the Cardinals.
Arizona.
Who else did they lose to? The Ravens. They held a 17-point lead in the second half against the Ravens.
And then Lamar had the comeback.
Yep. So if they can get up to hot starts like they have been, including against Green Bay this past week, they had a good first half and then obviously turned on the end enough to get the win. But yeah, I mean, throwing the Vikings into that equation too, sitting at 5-5, they still have some ground to make up to win the division. But right now they're a playoff team. I think they're the 6 or the 7 seed as they sit right now. So
yeah, their losses on the year were Bengals in overtime week 1, Cardinals on the missed field goal. They lost to the Browns by a touchdown, which was scored late in the game. They beat the Vikings on a walk-off field goal. They beat the Panthers on a walk-off overtime touchdown. Lost to the Cowboys on a late drive by Dak. Lost on a game-winning field goal in OT to the Ravens. And then they beat the Chargers by a tud. And then just this last week, won by a game-winning field goals. Yeah, as it stands, Green Bay, Arizona's number 1, Green Bay's number 2, Los Angeles is 3, Cowboys are 4, Rams are 5, Bucks are 6. Vikings are out.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean they're right there. Really, any team
Yeah,
that's at
the
or above
Buccaneers,
500.
Bucks are 6-3. Otherwise, Vikings, Saints, Panthers, 5-5, 5-6. They're right there, as well as the 49ers have crawled back. They're 5-5 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the Eagles are 5-6, excuse me, and the Giants are 4-6. So there's just every team pretty much outside of Seattle, the Giants, and Detroit and Atlanta. Oh, Chicago, I guess you can count out at this point too. Besides those 5 teams, every team's really is playing to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I saw yesterday that in the NFC, every team is within one game of the team ahead and behind them, except for Detroit. So it's that
Yeah, records wise, it
close.
is.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun coming down the stretch to see because nobody's really made that separation again in the NFC. Packers had an opportunity to do it this past week. They fall short. Still leaves it wide open. So yeah, switching over to my questions for you this week. As everybody knows, the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. I always rip on the Dallas Cowboys just for the fact that they barely make it to the playoffs, and when they do, they can't win. So my question to you is, who is the real America's team?
New England.
Even if they have that much hate?
Yeah. They're out of Boston. Eastern ties, 13 colonies. They're fucking thing's a goddamn patriot, for Christ's sakes. Like getting our freedom. They're America's team.
Yeah. I guess the two teams I'd throw, I agree with you. The Patriots are up there. I guess if there's 3 teams that I would say, if Dallas got their America's team title stripped away from them, these 3 teams would be finalists in the running for New America's team. I put the Patriots up there. The other 2 teams would be the Packers and Steelers, just because
those
of
would be the other 2 as well.
How deep their franchises are. They're historical. Their fans travel really well. Heck, last night when they played the Chargers, it was 50-50, if not 60-40 in favor of.
They showed it was actually 70-30 Steelers fans.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you could tell.
But that's what you get in LA, though.
Yeah.
No one wants to sit inside and watch a football game when you can go out to the beach. Like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Then moving on to our next question here. 2 guys who have played stellar in their first year, Mac Jones, Jamar Chase. Who has your vote for Rookie of the Year?
Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones. I just think that he's been playing phenomenal. He's stepped in and he's done everything that he's been asked to do going forward. Obviously that team struggled early when they had to get all the new signings from the offseason and Mac Jones, the rookie, all on the same page. Now that they're clicking and that team's rolling, especially with them winning 2 huge games in a row now. I think that's 5 straight for the Pats. And they just seem to keep building and building and building. To me, this is a no-brainer, Mac Jones. Bearing some injury where he's out an extended period of time, then I would hand it over to Jamar Chase just because his production week in and week out is still tremendous. But as far as being a quarterback, I feel like that's a lot more difficult than being a wideout, especially being a rookie.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, up until about 3 weeks ago, Jamar Chase was kind of running away with it. I mean, in a lot of cases, MVP, Rookie of the Year, kind of these top awards of the season have to do with how well your team is doing. With the Bengals kind of going off the cliff, they got their first win in a couple weeks yesterday over the Raiders, so they're finally got back in the win column. But like you said, for how good Mac Jones is doing as a rookie, you can see he's adding more and more to his plate every week. As far as I feel like early on in the first couple of weeks, it was just get the play in, go up, hike, and then whatever he sees. Now he's going up, checking stuff, changing stuff at the line to where you can see that maturity developing right before your eyes. So unless the Patriots go plateau or kind of go down, and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow get rolling again and lead that team back to the top of the AFC, yeah, I think Mac Jones, as well as, I mean, I think just this week too, Vegas the odds switched over from Jamar Chase to Mac Jones to now be the favorite to win MVP. So everything is trending the Patriots' way with that. So I guess the last question kind of, I mean, there's been a little bit of a Patriots trend, but I guess it all depends on your take with this. With the Titans and Bills losing, who are arguably the two top teams going into this week in the AFC, who is now the hottest team in the AFC? You have the Patriots and the Chiefs both getting huge wins yesterday. Or do you see another team as the hottest team right now?
I'm gonna stick and stay with my Patriots. Granted, the Chiefs are trending up. They still didn't put a full game together.
Their offense struggled, it seemed like.
Yeah, it just seems like those little tiny miscues, and Dallas had them in the game as well yesterday. Just the missed throws, the misreads, which we don't see that happen out of those two quarterbacks. We just don't see it, and we're seeing a lot of it this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm going to say New England, I would say, is in that top spot. But Kansas City, we can finally say that they're back now. That's 3 or 4 in a row now that they've won. They're back atop of their division. We'll see them in the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to cough this. I don't think they're going to cough it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd put those two teams up in the same spot as well. With right now, it's kind of a 1A, 1B. Patriots being at 1A and the Chiefs being a half step behind them. Had the Chiefs offense balled out and put up 40 on Dallas, I might give Kansas City the edge. But again, they're not fully back, but I mean, they're still back. And going into this week, before we were talking last week, how everybody's like, oh, the Chiefs are back, Chiefs are back. If I said if they go out and lose and lay an egg against Dallas and Dallas takes it to them at Kansas City, then they're not back. But I guess I'll say they're back.
I also have to add in, I would put the Colts in that conversation as well.
Oh, yeah.
As a rising hot team, as they're starting to put it together, especially with us talking about Jonathan Taylor in that first bit. This team is coming. Can the Titans hold them off until they can get Henry back, potentially? Like, that's the question mark at this point. I love the Hard Knocks, too. Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that wraps up our NFL for today. Again, kind of going forward, we're just going to, if there's any breaking news, crazy breaking news, we'll highlight that. But otherwise, we're going to kind of just stick to giving our takes on teams and, I guess, situations happening around the league. So sticking with our football talk, switching over to the college world here. As everyone knows, college football rankings are updated every Tuesday night. So tomorrow night, they will come out with the top 25 rankings, top 4 in, first 2 out. Instead of kind of highlighting games over the weekend, we are going to give our opinions and takes as to who we think our top 4 and top 2 out are. I guess we'll kind of go back and forth.
Want me to go first? I'll just go first.
Do you want to go one?
I'll just go my top 4. I'll go my top 4, who I think should be top 4, and then you go your top 4, and then we can talk about the teams out, in and out. Because I think, okay.
Yeah, go for it.
1, Georgia.
Yep.
2, Ohio State. 3, Cincinnati. 4th, I have Notre Dame.
Okay. I have same top 2. I got Georgia at 1, Ohio State at 2. I got Bama at 3, Cincinnati at 4 is my top 4 for this week. And then I guess to round it out, 5 and 6, Michigan 5, Notre Dame 6.
Alabama 5, Michigan 6.
All right.
I feel like the only way Alabama is deserving of getting back into that top 4 spot is by beating Georgia in the NCC championship.
Yeah.
Otherwise, to me, they haven't shown me that they are a top. Yeah, their offense can score at will, but that their defense hasn't been the same defense that we're used to seeing and shutting teams down. And they've had to live in close games this year when normally they don't. I don't know. To me personally, I don't think that they deserve to be in at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Cincinnati was just on the outside that past couple weeks, and we've talked about how many or countless times where it take a slip up from a team ahead of them to get in. With Oregon
Well, they
losing to
dominated in their performance this weekend.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, they fucking routed SMU.
Yeah.
So that's a statement win.
Yeah, which is what they needed to get into the top four. Again, we'll see what happens tomorrow night, but I feel like this is their ticket in. It'd be hard for them to get into the top four, but once they're in, so long as they can win out, how can you take them back out at that point? And then obviously the other move is Ohio State flip-flopping with Bama, just because Ohio State took it to Michigan State. CJ Stroud, 6 touchdowns, over 400 yards in the first half against Michigan State, who was relevant 2 weeks ago, now not so much. And then Bama.
They're still a good football team. They're just not a match for Ohio State.
Yeah.
This whole season, there's only been 2 teams, Georgia and Ohio State, that have looked that dominant. Like, holy, it's going to be those 2. And Cincinnati, I haven't watched Cincinnati play, so I can't really say about them, but it's looked like it's been a 1-2 tier league this year. Georgia, Ohio State are far ahead of 3, 4, 5, and 6, where normally you do have it a little bit closer between 1 and 4. But this year it's just running away with Georgia's defense and Ohio State's offense. They're just destined to match.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Georgia, Ohio State are kind of the only 2 that have stood out. I mean, Cincinnati, and it's funny that everybody's talking about the quarterbacks coming in the next year's draft. I don't know what year he is. I'd have to look it up. But Desmond Ritter, I think it's Ritter, the Cincinnati quarterback, has played amazing all year. I'll pull him up here quick to see what he is. A senior, so I don't know where he is showing up in the draft as far as if he's projected to go first round, second round, what it's looking like. But I mean, pulling up his stats here, just a yard shy of 2,700 yards, 25 TDs, 6 interceptions only, 74.5 QBR. So he's, again, not being in a Power 5 conference is hard. That's probably Cincinnati's only downfall. Plus, if they were in a Power 5 conference, maybe they aren't undefeated because they're playing tougher teams. So who knows there? But again, an undefeated team, being one of the lone undefeated teams left in football. What is it? Georgia, Cincinnati, and University of Texas San Antonio are the 3 remaining top 25 teams that are undefeated. So
I wonder if there's any undefeated teams outside of that.
There might be. I don't know. I'm sure there are that are like smaller schools that play other smaller schools, but yeah. And then kind of Notre Dame sneaking back in too. They had a win over again, they don't play any really big teams. Their last 3 games over Navy, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. They do finish the season though with Stanford. Didn't Stanford
beat them? Beat Oregon already.
Beat Oregon. So I mean, again, now Notre Dame is kind of in that spot where they need 1, if not 2 teams ahead of them to slip up to get in. But again, a big game coming up this weekend, which is going to determine a lot of things. Ohio State versus Michigan. Ohio State wins. They solidify probably a top 4 in the college football playoff, no doubt. Michigan wins. Do they knock out Ohio State enough to move themselves in? Just because Ohio State would then be a 2-loss team, Michigan only a 1-loss team. So it's probably the biggest game this weekend to pay attention to. But
even if Ohio State does win and then lose the Big Ten championship, I still don't think that they deserve to get in then.
As a 2-loss team. Well, it depends who they play, I guess.
Oklahoma might get back in.
I don't even know where Oklahoma is in the rankings anymore.
They got 1 loss. I think they're 8.
They are
9.
They're 10.
10. with one loss.
And they still have to play. They still have their battle for Oklahoma.
Yep.
Against Oklahoma State, who is 7.
Yeah, so that's a big game if they can beat them.
But even if they win and everybody ahead of them stays the same, they don't get back in.
Yeah, but if Alabama loses in the SEC championship, that's 2-loss Bama. Some team's gonna get in.
Yeah, but for Oklahoma,
I'm telling you, Oklahoma is gonna be the team that slides in there.
Because it would be Oklahoma versus how would that work? For the
Big 12 championship, they play Baylor again.
Well, right now the standings are Oklahoma State, Baylor's 3. So yeah, if Oklahoma wins, it would still be Oklahoma State, Oklahoma for the Big 12 championship again. But if Oklahoma loses, then they'd be tied with Baylor for conference, but Baylor would have the head-to-head. So that'd be weird. Basically play the same team back-to-back weeks. But I don't know. Because Oklahoma, who they play, they played Ohio State this past week. They won 28-21. So it wasn't, which Iowa State is not a pushover team. They were right in the mix up until halfway through the year.
But they were playing in Oklahoma. If they were playing at Iowa State would have beat them. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. We'll keep our tabs on that on Wednesday when we're back after they release what they think the experts know. Yeah.
Yeah, then switching over to the NBA here for a couple headlines.
I just got one hot take. Do you think LeBron James should be suspended for the elbow closed fist shimmy last night in the game?
I know a lot of people are calling for him to be, but just because to give any player the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to say no, because LeBron is on the high pedestal. People expect him to be held to this standard. If he was known to be a dirty player and this was a common thing, if this was Draymond Green who did it, then because of his track record, I feel like then maybe you'd have more of a case to make against him to suspend him.
So just because he doesn't have any previous history, that doesn't matter that he did this his first time?
I mean, I feel like in any sport, anything that's like a one-time, it's like a slap on the wrist your first time, but do it again.
I could argue in hockey, there's a guy who blindside punched somebody's face and teeth out and fucking and he had no prior.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the Rodgers situation in the NFL with the whole COVID thing. Slap on the wrist, but do it again, shit's gonna happen.
They say that it's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying with LeBron. If they don't hit him with a suspension, they're gonna be like, but something like this happens again in the near future, then we'll act on it. I don't know. I feel because I don't know. I personally don't like LeBron. LeBron's an amazing player. I think he's kind of a crybaby, and he is always looking at the ref anytime somebody lays a finger on him to get a foul, kind of like a James Harden kind of thing. They're kind of both in that same pool as far as always looking for fouls, even though they don't deserve them. But I don't know. I mean, it was a dirty move, but LeBron's not a dirty player, so it's hard to make a case against him. I should do it because I don't like LeBron. Yes, I'd love to see him suspended just because it's fuck LeBron. But as a fan of the game and looking at how other situations are handled, look at Nikola Jokic, for example. What happened to him? He got a 1-game suspension, but he blindsided a guy throwing his shoulder into him. And that was just a 1-game suspension.
And that's not worse than fucking forearm to the face, close hand, fucking backhand right to the face.
It was an elbow on a rebound. So it's
the closed fist is what got him. It was the elbow caught him first, and then he looked at him, closed his fist, and fucking backhanded him right in the face.
No, it was an elbow.
Watch the replay.
I have. It's an elbow. That's all that got him was an elbow.
That's not from the angles that they were shown on ESPN.
That's all I saw was an elbow. A closed fist, he would have got then yes, he would have got suspended if he would have he would have got suspended that night if it was a close.
They called
elbow.
it an egregious act, which is the
Yeah, it was
closing of a fist.
It was a flagrant 2, which is just unnecessary contact, like aggressive
which is an
contact.
egregious act.
Yeah, the elbow. There was never a fist from everything I saw. If he hit him with an elbow and then turned with a closed fist and hit him afterwards, he would have got suspended that night. The fact that he hasn't, there's no way he hit him with a closed fist.
You got a video coming your way.
On what?
Through text. I just want to make sure that this is the right one. Because he legit gets him with the elbow, closes his hand, and bops him. It happens so fast, dude. Like, bah! Like, it happens so fast where you have to go, you have to wait till they go slow-mo. But yeah, dude, that guy freaked out.
Oh, the Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
But that's funny too, because it's like he kept coming back and charging, but it's like he wasn't gonna do anything. Because at that point,
if he would have been tossed.
Well,
he swings at LeBron James, dude.
Well, they both got ejected. So he got tossed no matter what. I think that it could have been like assault if he would have tried 3, 4, 5 times to try to go assault the guy. I'm sure he just blacked out. And he just, because it took how many people to hold him back. And then even that wasn't enough. There was 3, 4 players / coaches that had hands on him trying to hold him back.
Yeah. I'll do it after the pod. I gotta find the video that I saw. But yeah, I mean,
if you have to dig that, every video I've seen, like that regular,
there's none slow motion. Most of them on YouTube are just showing the fight, like the after stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's not all the ones showing
all
the
the ones
thing.
All the ones I've seen are like SportsCenter, ESPN. That's what I'm going off of.
Yeah, this was a fans from right on this, like from right there, and you could see it. Boom, boom.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just going off whatever. I mean, they're not going to take. I don't know if the NBA would take a fans' video into consideration, or would they? I don't know if they've ever done that, or if they just go off of what's the official video from the game that was caught. I don't know. I think if he hit him with a closed fist, I think he would have been suspended already. If that footage was taken into consideration. If it's not, then I could see why.
Oh, here we go. This is the video. It's from up above. And you can see him elbow and fucking smack him right in the face. Share. But yeah, I think he should get a game for that. I mean, being a superstar leader that you're supposed to be, if you go to like around 3 minutes in the video, being such a superstar in the league that he's supposed to be, and on this pedestal of not having done anything like that, why is it okay for him to lose his shit and fucking elbow and punch a guy in the face? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like this should be a one gamer, nothing more than that. But obviously, I feel like the NBA is not going to suspend them due to him playing tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden versus the Knicks, and that's one of the most profitizing games, having LeBron come to MSG. So clearly the NBA is not going to step in and do anything about this, but I think that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that he should be suspended for literally doing what he did. Like, it's just uncalled for.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if it was an accident, like if you didn't literally elbow him, then look, close your hand, and then bop him in the face. Like, if it didn't, like if you just were looking the other way and we're just hand fighting and weren't even paying attention, but he deliberately fucking looked right at him in the face and just. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be suspended either. Like I said, I've respected
I think he
LeBron as a
should be,
good
though.
player. Yeah, I respected LeBron as a player, but just with how he's a lot of times he's good because people just get out of his way and let him do his thing. And again, with him,
No one challenges him.
nobody challenges him. He's always whining.
Losing to the Pistons on a Sunday about to be 8-10, he got pretty pissed off. And I feel like it was just a snap. Maybe LeBron blacked out and he didn't know what he was doing. But the video don't lie.
Yeah. It was like one motion though. Like it's elbow, and as his hand comes through, yeah. It's not the way you were describing it was like elbow, and then like it was all one motion, but yeah, his hand does hit his face.
And he looks right, and he looks right at him, and his hand originally isn't closed, and then closes right as it's about to hit him.
Yeah, because it's like elbow and then arm extends, so he
fucking pops. Yeah,
shot. Or if you would have kept his arm closed, the hand wouldn't have hit. But as his elbow came through, he like extended his arm straight so that his hand would hit him
straight at him.
Yeah,
it just looks cheap.
Yeah,
is all. Just because he was looking at him doing that. It's like people hand fighting shit all the time at the rim. Usually it stays below the neck, and LeBron just a blatant. He just threw it out there. I don't know.
And like
he's in control of himself.
But what warranted it too was like Stewart was just like pulling on him a little bit on his arm. Well, that happens on every single rebound, every single.
And you don't see everybody elbowing fucking.
Yeah.
So
he just let
it was just one moment of frustration.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen from LeBron before.
No. But I feel like given where his team's at, he's been injured. Like, I could see why he's frustrated, but again, doesn't make it okay to do what he did. But
no.
I guess sticking with him then, one of the two questions I had for you. Has LeBron won his last NBA championship 2 years ago with the Lakers?
I think so. I don't think we're going to see a healthy LeBron make it through one more season completely. Injuries seem to just keep stacking up. Normally where he'd be out a week. Now it's got him out about a month and a half. 2 more injuries, and who knows if he just hangs it up and says, I'm done. I mean, he's already got the third most minutes all time of any player. His resume speaks for itself. He ain't going to, I don't think he's going to cement his legacy anymore if he goes and wins 2-3 more titles. Like,
yeah,
his legacy is already what it is. And that is arguably the greatest player of basketball, not being just a scorer, but being an all-around player. Yeah, I think that's. I don't think he's got any more in him. The only way that I see that happening is this season, if somehow they turn it around and can get all the superstars and vets to get onto the same page where they have an amazing finish. But up until then, I think that's it. We're kind of seeing a wounded LeBron.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the team. Like, they're getting older. They bring in Russell Westbrook, which on paper it's like, oh, it's Russell Westbrook, but he
leads the NBA in turnovers by far.
Yeah, he's not what he used to be. Yeah.
Well, and their team, they went over 16 shooting threes the other night. Like, they're not getting buckets where they've had the 3-point shooters in the past. They're not getting that now with all these vets, and especially having to feed the ball to Russ. And I feel like that team is just discombobulated. The one thing I do have to say about the Lakers, though, real quick, is a little off of LeBron, but Anthony Davis, for how good of a player he is, he just doesn't have the mindset like Giannis has to step up and do it every single night. And it's like, he could easily do it just like Giannis. He could easily put up Giannis's numbers. They're basically the same player, except for AD's even a better shooter than Giannis. But it's just the mindset. He doesn't have what it takes, I feel like, to take over. When LeBron bringing AD in 2 years ago, when it was, he already handed him the keys. He told him, dude, I'm in the passenger seat now, man. I can't do it anymore. You got to step up. And they're waiting for Anthony Davis or some other veteran. Carmelo, maybe it has to do it. One of these guys is going to have to step up and take the reins. And if it's Westbrook, they're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I don't think unless he moves to another team, which I don't see happening, just because
Unless he goes to Cleveland and retires a Cav.
yeah, which they don't even have what they used to have. Like their next best guard, they basically it's a LeBron, Kyrie, be LeBron and Collin Sexton. And Collin Sexton, though a young stud making his way through the league, is not a Kyrie Irving right now, and he doesn't have the bench. He doesn't have all that, and plus, again, with his injuries, what team? Yes, it's LeBron James, but who wants to take that risk where he's going to sit out half the year?
Cleveland, any team I feel like would take a half a season LeBron if they're getting a full health LeBron. Like if you're gonna have to miss half the season to get to 100%, we're okay with that. But if you're not gonna be 100%, we don't know. And I feel like the Lakers have found themselves into this pit because it seems like LeBron's not LeBron. He's not doing what LeBron does.
Yeah. And then the last question I have for you here: two of the NBA hottest teams. The Phoenix Suns are on a 12-game win streak and sit at 13-3. The Warriors are 15-2. Who gets figured out first? Or I guess whichever way you want to answer it. Who gets figured out first, or who's going to stay hot the whole year?
Warriors. They were already my pick at the beginning of the year to win the title. I'm sticking on that mark. This team is unbelievable, especially with the pieces that they've added through the draft and through trades. They're about to get Clay back. He's just been cleared to come back full time now. This team takes another step, and I could see them maybe potentially pushing 70 wins.
Yeah, I agree with you. Steph Curry is one of those guys, like, you name a price, people are going to pay to go watch this guy play ball.
Nobody's ever seen anything like a Steph Curry.
No. And you'd think by now teams throw different defenses at him to try to get to stop him, whether it's zone, whether it's man, throw two guys at him, doesn't matter, because the guy has some of the nicest touches around the rim as far as getting the ball high up off the glass so he doesn't get blocked. And then the second that dude crosses half court, you got to be in his pocket, otherwise he's pulling up.
And this season, he's actually turning into more of a passer, more of a facilitator instead of being the one relied on to do all the heavy shooting.
Yeah,
he's got a deep 3-point shooting team. Like Wiseman can shoot, Clay can shoot, Draymond can shoot. Like they all can shoot.
Yeah, and even the young guys.
And this is the first time I feel like we're seeing a team that's got 5 guys that can all shoot 3-pointers out on the court at the same time. Like this Steph Curry team and era is changing the way the NBA will forever be.
Yeah. And again, 2 young guys that again get overshadowed but still give a lot of production on the floor. Wiggins, which not really younger anymore, but he's also named to throw in there. But the 2 I'm thinking of are Gary Payton and Jordan Poole, guys who are in their first couple of years of the league. Who I think Poole, I saw something where from his last year stats to this year, he went from like 40% shooting to 50 something. He doubled his points, doubled his steals. Like he just
Wiseman did as well.
Yeah,
being the number 1 pick.
Where the Warriors, they had that one down year where they got a high draft pick, and they turned around immediately and went back to the top of the NBA.
Yep. They got they made all the moves that they needed to do in the offseason. And Steve Kerr is just one of the ultimate managers, it seems, that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's all I had for the NBA. Let's move over to the NHL.
All right, sounds good. Being a Seattle Kraken fan, which goal are you riding with this season?
I mean, they've had a couple guys. I think they've had 3 or 4 different guys now in the net. Obviously, being a new team, they're just trying to figure it out. Grubauer seems to I think last night's game they beat the Capitals 5-2. Snapped their long, I think it was a 6-game skid, and Grubauer had, I think it was 37 saves. Had a really good night in the net. I see them moving ahead with him, and that's who I guess move ahead with going forward, just because they're all very inconsistent. But if there's anybody who's shown the most consistency, it is Grubauer.
Yeah, I'd have to say with him too. Hope that he bounces back and looks like the Avalanche goalie that they had last year when he was standing in net for them. Hopefully he can catch some fire here for that team, and hopefully they can start bouncing back and getting some W's.
Yeah, they need it. That I think 11 points right now, 11, 12 points. They're only ahead of the Canadians and Coyotes, I want to say, right now.
Senators and Coyotes. Yep, you're right.
The Canadians are ahead of them even?
Yeah, the Canadians are up to 12 points.
Oh, they are at 12. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then my last question for you: do you think the New York Islanders get into the playoffs now that they've started playing at their new arena?
Yeah, I mean, how far did they get last year? They make it to the first round, right?
They made it to one. They lost to Tampa to
In the
go to the
first round.
finals. No, in the semi.
Oh
The
yeah,
conference
that's right.
finals.
That's right. And where do they sit right now? Okay, they're sitting at 5 and 8, 12 points.
They went game 7 against Tampa, or game 6, excuse me.
I mean, the Metro, obviously probably the best division in hockey. You got Carolina and Washington at the top, and then even in the mix, the Devils look good this year. The Penguins are the Penguins. The only really the two teams that I'd say they could jump are the Blue Jackets and Rangers, but even they are playing some of their best. The Rangers are third in the Metro right now. I don't know. I feel like they got off to such a late start. They're gonna have to bank on 3 or 4 teams to collapse, and they're gonna have to go on a hot streak at that time. So, given I don't see that happening, I'm gonna say no. I mean, the new arena looks sick. It looks really nice. Got to see it. They played in it last night, but I don't know. Kind of like my Kraken. I think they're too far back to make a push at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I don't think this, even though the Islanders do have a great team, unless they go on a run and we see an epic collapse from a couple teams ahead of them in the Metro, I don't think it's already too late almost to catch back up, as they're 16 points back from Carolina.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot. They're really 7 points out of the playoffs technically at this point. It's going to be tough, but never going to say never. And if any team is going to do it, it is going to be that Islanders team coming out with the stellar defense that they do have. I feel like they've just not gotten the goal scoring, hence their differential is -16. Yeah, I just feel like they just need to get some goal scoring, need to get some of their younger stars to step back up, and maybe they can go on a run. They need one. They're on a 6-game streak right now.
Yeah, then going over to my couple questions for you here. To the Canadians, they currently sit second to last in the Atlantic, 5-13 with 12 points. Does Carey Price's absence absence the main contributor in their slow start, or do you think they need more help to kind of turn things around?
Obviously, when you lose a goaltender like that, that's going to be a big loss for your team. But I also think Shea Weber losing their top defenseman as well, the two huge cornerstones of that team. They lost a couple people in the offseason as well for more money.
Caulfield got called down. Well, he just got called back up, didn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. One shot, and he was out on the ice when they got scored on 3 times.
Oh.
So he didn't really do much. I think that's a young team. They're going to try to have to get their legs underneath them. Obviously, where they sit in their division, they have games in hand over. They have 5 games in hand over Boston and Ottawa. And Ottawa's 3 points behind them with 5 games. So Montreal, going to say it again, if it was a normal year, they would have been the worst team ever to get to a Stanley Cup final. And this team just isn't ready. This team isn't ready to take that step. They're too young. They just don't have what it takes to get there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, Weber and Price, having both of them either being out or just gone. Again, it was cool to see the Canadians get to the Cup last year, but it was, again, a very head scratcher. Obviously, a lot of things that they did different last year. Otherwise, they wouldn't have even got there. So
they wouldn't have even made the playoffs if they did it regularly.
No, but yeah, like you said, they're young. They're still just missing a couple pieces, and hopefully Caulfield develops more and becomes, in that couple week span in the playoffs last year. Hopefully they can get him to do that on a weekly basis throughout the whole season. And my last question for you here for hockey, in the East, two divisions on top of the Atlantic, Panthers are 13-2. Metro Hurricanes are 14-2. In the West, we have the Wild and the Central 11-6. And in the Pacific, the Flames are 11-3. Which team gets the 20 wins first?
What team gets 20 wins first?
I mean, statistically, the Hurricanes have the best odds, as they have 2 less games played than the Panthers and 1 more win, because the Panthers
I'm going
have
to
had
say
3
neither
overtime
one
losses.
of. I'm going to say neither one of those teams, and I'm going to say the Edmonton Oilers end up being the first team to reach 20.
Okay, yeah. So the Oilers at 13-4. The Flames only have more points because of overtime losses.
Yeah.
But the Oilers are 13-4, so they technically have a better record. Yeah, I kind of forgot about them. I was just looking at the tops in each of those divisions, where the Oilers are kind of the only team in second. I mean, the Maple Leafs, they're only 2 points back of the Panthers, 13-6, so they're right in the mix. But they have
2 more games played, so
Yeah.
they're really 6 points back.
And the Capitals, they could be in the conversation if it weren't for their 5 overtime losses. If they could have turned a couple more of those into outright wins.
Yeah, and Carolina's got 3 games in hand as well, so that's 7 points.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. They'll close out the episode here today, kind of with a miscellaneous sports segment. We don't really talk about UFC, NASCAR, boxing a whole lot, so this is kind of a opportunity for us to throw those kind of things out there, and talk about them a little bit. So what do you got today?
Seen the video of Tiger Woods yesterday out on the range hitting balls. When do you think Tiger Woods makes his return to the PGA?
I could see in the spring. I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, he's had a lot of injuries that he's come back from. That, I mean, other professional athletes or golfers probably would have hung it up, but the dude just.
Yeah, he's got that leg sleeve now that Alex Smith has.
Yeah. So however long it takes for him to. I mean, it's for as long as the guys play the game of golf, taking off that much time, you're gonna be rusty no matter who you are. I mean, look at some professional athletes throughout a couple weeks from playing their sport, and they look rusty. So it's gonna take him some time. I could see him taking all winter to get back healthy. So I could see early spring, like maybe March, April, getting back out on the course.
I hope he makes his return in time to shoot at Augusta.
When is that again? April?
Yeah, it's usually April.
Mid-April. It's like the week after Easter, I want to say.
I think it's like the 13th through the 16th or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of the same time for March, April, somewhere in there would make sense for him to come back.
That'd be cool.
That's when the tour starts to heat up. I mean, there's golf all year round, but if there's a time to jump back into it and say I still got it, that's the time to do it.
Well, and somebody like his stature who's won so many times, he's got lifetime exonerations to all the majors. So he can shoot at them all for forever.
Yeah, he could show up in 10 years and be like, I'm back, baby.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, and my question for you, with the Winter Olympics, kind of again with how odd it was, the Olympics getting pushed back. We're going to basically get back-to-back years of Olympics. The Winter Olympics and Super Bowl will take place at the same time this next year, February 2022, for the first time ever. Do you think this is going to help or hurt Super Bowl ratings?
This is going to hurt the Super Bowl ratings, and I'm going to be one of the people not watching the Super Bowl unless it's the Green Bay Packers in it, because I do believe that the hockey quarterfinals are scheduled to be going on during that time. And the NHL players are playing in the Olympics this year, so that's going to be something to actually be excited to watch. So unless it's Green Bay, I ain't watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have another major sports event going on at the same time, the Super Bowl has been lucky to have it the first Sunday of February for the last 20, 30 years, whatever it's been. Yeah, this year it's going to be interesting. I mean, the Super Bowl halftime show seems like it's going to be one of the better ones this year. So, but I think of how many people.
Why do you think that is, though? Probably to compete against the Olympics.
But think of how many people tune in for the halftime show. I think
that's it.
It goes up like the ratings stay at like, and then as soon as the Super Bowl halftime show comes, it jumps up a couple million. As soon as it ends, boom, back down again because all those people leave. So.
Yep.
And now they're just going to be banking on a couple million of those people to stick around and maybe watch the rest of the game if it's a close one. But
unless USA is dominating some other sport,
Yeah, exactly. It could be they're in for the gold medal that going on at this time. Like,
country's pride's a lot more than the NFL.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely in the same boat unless the Packers are playing. I mean, obviously, I'll probably watch some of it just because for the halftime shows, the commercials, and if it's close at the end, it's just cool to watch the ending to a year in any professional sport. But yeah, definitely hurting the NFL this year being during the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's
all I got.
Sounds good. That's all I got as well.
All right. Well, sounds good, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate all the love and support continued. Sorry we had a mishap with the schedule of our interview that we were supposed to have. We'll get that all straightened out and figured out so that we can get that to you guys whenever we're available too. So shout out for sticking with us, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.